What did we say we'd say?
What? Oh, we're recording right now?
Yeah, it's
we're
recording.
live on the air.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Oh, we're going to do the whole thing. Happy birthday, dear Mark.
I thought you were going to do the harmony.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. That is going to be the new intro to every episode. Is going to be a song.
Well, it would have been good if Kellen would have done his job and harmonized, right?
I know, Kellen.
I think I went pretty off there in the middle. Choir days are behind us.
I don't think there's a better way to start. So, hello and welcome to episode 221. And yes, it is the Mark's birthday episode, the one you've all been waiting for.
It is Mark's actual birthday right now, as we speak right now.
Yes, there are a couple more hours on my birthday until the time runs out at midnight. So, yes, we are recording on April 11th, 411, the birth of me. So, yes.
And you might be wondering, why is the birthday boy hosting? Well, we just discussed this, and as we always say, what did we say again?
We say, if it's your birthday, you host the episode.
Yeah, you're the birthday boy.
Yeah.
You have to be the host. That's what we always say. Something like that.
Long-standing tradition. We've always done it that way. We've never deviated.
What were you going to say, Colin? I cut you off.
I was just going to say this is going to be a weird configuration of the Board Game Barrage podcast.
Yeah. So, joining the ranks of famous episodes like 139 and 212, we've got 221 with the never-before-seen triumvirate of Kellen the Red Tank.
Hello.
Christina the Blue Tank.
I feel like we already sang. Like, do we have to say hello now?
Yeah, people might not know who you are.
Okay.
You've only been on like 10 episodes.
Yeah, Mark.
Kellen thinks...
No.
Kellen
Come
thinks
on.
I've only been on 10 episodes.
That is not true.
It's fine.
And yes, I'm the birthday boy of the Green Tank. So we've never had this combination of three. So I think the only thing missing is if we were recording this at noon, because as the last episode showed us, Kellen with noon energy is scorching. We had a lot of comments in the Discord about Kellen's super energetic noon energy, just blowing things away.
Yeah, we're both drinking herbal tea right now, so I don't think you're going to get that noon energy from us.
Right. Hopefully the birthday energy will compensate for that.
Oh, yeah. The birthday energy conquers all.
So for today's episode, with this interesting, again, triumvirate of tanks, what we're going to do is we're going to bring up a question we've been thinking about, bring it out to the other tanks, and just discuss it.
Pull a question out of the birthday hat.
Yeah, that's right, the birthday hat.
We're all wearing those triangle paper birthday hats for Mark, and we all wrote a question on paper and put it in the hat. And so when we ask our question, too bad this isn't on YouTube. You'll never get to see it.
We will do a ceremonial pulling off of the hat, where like the rubber band stretches a little bit as you pull it up.
Exactly.
Have we got through the intro yet?
We're building the suspense. Anyhow, okay. But before we get to pulling off our birthday hats, we are going to be talking about the games we've played. Christina and Kellen just got done, I think, playing a game or two of Time Barons. And then I'll be talking about the key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land, and a return to Hanabi for the first time in, I think, literally 6 years was the last time I played Hanabi. So
wow.
we'll be talking about that. So tell me how Time Barons went, guys.
All right. Well, Time Barons is a mostly two-player tactical card game, and it is very much a la Innovation, which is what drew both of us to this game.
Interesting.
I think it was a listener.
There is a listener, Special Ops John, who might be my doppelganger, just in terms of like straight games in our top 20 that are shared. And Time Barons is one that he has brought up repeatedly. And it is John Perry, the designer of Air, Land, and Sea, as well as the designer of Scapegoat. So the pedigree is there.
And then when anyone says this game reminds me of Innovation, you might like it. I think there's no world where we don't try it.
Sure.
So we have now played a few games of this, and well, I'm jumping to what we think. So let me tell you about the game first. So this is a tactical card game, like I said, where you are battling your opponent, you are building a tableau, and you are moving through the ages, or the levels, as they're called in this game. And the whole point of the game is to kill your opponent's followers before they kill yours. This is much harder than it sounds. You start the game with 10 followers, and then you just start drawing cards. Actions are the currency in this game. You are constantly using actions in order to pay for things. You're using actions in order to do exciting things, to fight your opponent. The way that you upgrade in this game is actually by using your actions. So it costs 2 actions to upgrade to level 2 and 3 actions to upgrade to level 3, etc. There are 4 levels. So you definitely are having to make very tight tactical decisions in this game because you only get 3 actions per turn. And you want to use them for everything. You want to draw cards, you want to play cards, you want to gain followers, you want to fight, you want to attack your opponent. You sometimes need to fortify, defend your tableau, build your tableau. So there's a lot of really interesting decisions, and it's a very reactive game, very tactical.
One of the most interesting considerations is around the sites and the followers. You lose the game if you run out of followers, but your site can be blown up and you lose every follower on that site. So if you have all of your workers on one card, that is a very precarious situation to be in because in one turn you could lose the whole game, even if you have a lot of followers there. So you're sort of building out and then figuring out when to go upward because going up in an age really delays your tempo because it takes so much of your turn to kind of get there. And it's crazy how similar to Innovation some of this sounds, but in a lot of ways it feels like Take That done right. You know, I know that we have talked about Take That done right. Someone lied to us about, what was that, lunch money, Mark?
Yeah.
Lunch money?
Yeah.
This is much better than Lunch Money. This has a very interesting war theme. The art is cool. I will say that more than any game that I have played with Christina in 2-player mode, within 5 seconds of this game starting, we were in Innovation mode.
Okay.
And I say that to mean that she was pissed at me within like 6 seconds and was you know when she starts like kind of shaking and she's like she wants to win real bad.
Right, sure. I've seen that.
Time Barons. Boom. 2-player.
Okay.
It's happening.
I don't know about anger. I wasn't angry. It was more like an intensity, which is one of my,
hallmark.
it's like this. Yeah. Like I love that. There's this tension from start to finish in this game that I would say doesn't quite rival Innovation, but it definitely has that energy.
Right.
And one thing about this in comparison to Innovation, it is very, very short. Each game, you can just fly through one and then you're playing them back to back to back because you just want to keep beating each other. We kind of were going back and forth beating each other. So that was really fun. But I mean...
Yeah, I think the games can end in 20 minutes, you know, if
or
you're...
less.
Or less.
I mean, really. And you're so focused. You're both like, you can't wait to take your turn. And you're like seeing what they're doing and you're thinking in your head like, haha, I'm going to get him on the next, you know, he doesn't even know what I have in my hands.
Right.
And then you play your card and then he's all mad and then it's just very, very fighty, very fast, very fun.
Yeah, the ages, the first one is a sword, the second one is a gun, the third one is a missile, and the last one is alien powers. So sort of the same degree as Innovation. I think because of how much we talk about Innovation, I feel like the touch point of Innovation makes the most sense here. But this is smaller, right? This is a 54-card deck. It's as if they were all attacky cards. Like, almost every card in the game is how do I attack the other person.
Or how do I defend from attacks on my own site.
Does it feel like Air, Land, and Sea in that way? Where it's like very reactive, very tactical?
Yeah, it's very tempo up and down. You're either on the offense or you're trying to desperately recover is what it's felt like in all of our games. It's like seesawing pretty well. This would be one of the strongest recommendations I've given in a while on the podcast. It is out of print, and you can print on demand at GameCrafter if you want, and you can also, I believe, just print and play. And again, not that many cards. I did it from GameCrafter, and so we can leave a link to that in the episode. WizKids most recently reprinted it. My guess is that it's just too mean for the marketplace, honestly. Yeah. But if you have enjoyed Innovation, this is very much in the same ballpark. I would be shocked to find out that Mr. Chudiak's games had not been played in the making of Time Barons. Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Yeah, and I will say it is, like Kellen kind of alluded to, much simpler than Innovation. There's a lot less depth and complexity to the cards and what you can do. It's also shorter. And so it kind of works. It kind of makes sense. Another thing that I was okay with, but not crazy about, is just the upgrading system. I think that as soon as one player starts upgrading, you pretty much have no choice. You have to also upgrade, or else you're just left behind. The cards are too powerful. Not that it's too easy to upgrade, because you are spending almost a whole turn, and in some cases a whole turn to do so, but you know that the other person's going to react and do the same thing.
Right. There's no choice at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the same as that tension and innovation where you're trying desperately to get to the next age, and sometimes it's so challenging and you just can't make it happen. And then the other thing that you can do in innovation is you really can win from below. You can win from the lower ages, and in this one it's kind of this race you got to keep up with. And not that everything in this game has to be compared to innovation. I think it's a very good game, and we had a ton of fun every time we played.
I think, to be fair, like, we aren't experts at this in the way that we are innovation.
Yeah.
And the other win condition is if 3 of the 4 age piles run out, whoever has the most followers wins, which is quite a bit different than losing all of your followers to lose the game. And so we haven't managed to have a game last to get to that end game. So my guess is that it could with better play. But I too have some questions around how many different strategies there are in Age 1. Because it almost feels like a very neutered, smaller card set versus...
I was going to ask, the number of cards upon your few number of plays, do you feel like you have a grasp of the card set? Like, do you feel like you sort of know what could come up at this point?
Yeah, I think in Age 1 and Age 2, definitely not 3, and definitely not 4. There's also like a full expansion that just like adds more cards into each with very little complexity. But like I said, if you were here, we would have played. It's very good. I think it's very good. I'm very excited about it, to own it and to continue playing it with Christina. I think we'll leave it out on the table and then kind of make it the lunchtime game of choice.
Sure.
Yep.
So is this potential top 50? Are we saying like it could be in the talk? Because it sounds like it from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Might
For me, I would say, yeah, definitely.
It's definitely in the talk. Yeah. Yes. For sure. And there are team multiplayer variants and free-for-all variants that I think have varying degrees of success, so I would like to try that again, but it is very mean and very aggro, so if that is not for you, do not seek out Time Barons. But if it is, if you've liked innovation, I do think this is excellent and an underappreciated card game.
Nice.
That is Time Barons.
So I got a chance to finally check out Meepleville, which is a board game cafe here in Vegas. I think one of the older ones, the one that originally ran what has become Dice Tower West when it was MeepleCon. So I got a chance to visit that for the first time.
Before the hostile takeover.
Before Vassal and his Stormtroopers.
Cronies.
That's right.
One crony, Mr. Delicio.
Yeah,
Mr.
I would call him
Delicious.
the croniest of the cronies.
I would too. Yeah,
exactly.
We're on the same wavelength, birthday boy.
But I didn't play Wavelength. I played a number of games. I was there with my girlfriend, and we played a bunch of 2-player games. Although I guess Nova Luna, which is one of the first of the games we played, is not a 2-player game exclusively, but we played that. We played Imhotep the Duel, and we also played Hanabi. And I was looking at my history of logging games and discovered to my dismay that I had not played Hanabi since 2016. So it's been 6 years since I played it.
Since your teens.
What's that?
Since you were a teenager.
Since I was a teenager, yeah. I'm now in my early 20s. So back then when I was a teenager was the last time I played Hanabi. I think it was right after I learned how to drive. Anyhow, so I got a chance to teach this to my girlfriend and to play it again for the first time in a long while. And wow, did I love it. I think I might have burnt out on it just playing it a bunch back then. Or maybe I was playing it with hardcore gamers and it just sort of like burnt me out on it or put a sour taste in my mouth. But playing with her was a blast, and she loved it. I mean, she's not a gamer at all, but absolutely loved Hanabi. And the first thing I did when I got home was found a deluxe copy of Hanabi to grab.
Hanabi 2?
Hanabi 2 Deluxe, yeah.
With the tiles?
With the tiles. We played with the tiles there, and I told her that normally this game is with cards, and she's like, oh, that doesn't seem as cool. So I said, yeah, I think you're right. And so I immediately got the tile version when I got home. So I'm eagerly anticipating that arriving and playing much more games of Hanabi. So
2-player, though? I don't even know if I knew it could work at 2.
I don't think I've played it often at 2. I think most of my games have been 3, probably. But I loved it at 2. I thought it was great at 2.
No, it's awesome. I mean, and you could just play it with more, right? If one of her friends comes over.
Sure, yeah.
Like, and then boom, you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it made sense that it appeared twice on your top 50 list, Kellen.
It all made sense.
It all made sense after playing it. Anyhow.
One could say that the editor would have some issue or partially his fault
Right.
for one of the panelists to list the same game twice.
One could say that. That's true. It wouldn't be this one, but one could. And one, in fact, has. Anyhow, speaking of Kellen, I forget the context. I think it was last week or the week before, where Kellen mockingly brought up logic puzzles that I did as a kid, where they tell you that Alex and Bailey and Charlie each brought a lunch to school, and Alex doesn't have an apple, and Bailey's sitting to the left of Charlie, and you need to figure out who brought what to lunch and where everyone sat. And you make those grids.
Whose dad didn't make enough money to afford the lunch.
Right. Not the ones that I did, but I don't dispute that. So, yeah, and you make the grids and you start marking those off. And Kellen said he hated them, and Neilan and I said we loved them. Christina, would you weigh in on this? You a fan of those deduction puzzles?
Well, I was with you until you started talking about the grids, because then the grids made me think of something else, a different type of...
It's like the river. It's like there's a wolf and a chicken and a
No,
sheep.
it's not like the river. It's not.
It's exactly like the river.
It's like Adam has an apple. Charlie does not have a banana, but he could have the other ones. And you
This is the same
you have
thing.
those grids.
This is the
And
same
you mark-
thing. The duck
Okay.
can't be by itself when it goes across the river, but if the wolf and the chicken are together...
Oh, yeah, I loved these.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, these are so fun.
Yeah, Kellen hates them.
Kellen, why'd you hate these?
That looks like homework.
Well, I think it was for school.
Certainly the first place I encountered them was school for sure. So our discussion about this sort of reignited my dormant passion for logic puzzles, and I decided to try The Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land from Haba and designed by Thomas Singh, who is the designer of the very popular cooperative trick-taking game The Crew. Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land, is one...
You're going to do that every time?
I mean, it's the name of the game.
Okay, yeah.
If you didn't say that, I'd be disappointed.
Exactly.
What
wants to
game were
hear
you
Lucky
talking
Llama
about
Land.
again?
Lucky Llama Land. Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land. Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land.
The Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land.
That's right, exactly. Anyhow, so it's one of a series of key games, not to be confused with Keyflower and the Brees Key series, that all share the same mechanisms that sort of draw a grid-up deduction sort of puzzle. Each box has something like 9 cases to solve. So the way it works is cards which contain the clues to the puzzle are spread out in a big pile on the table. So there's just throw them out there. You don't have to arrange them. You just throw the cards there on the table. And then one of a number of keys, each representing a different case, is chosen. So each key is a different color. So you might pick the red key, and then you're doing the red case in this game. And then simultaneously, there are no turns, everybody grabs cards from the pile, picking up clues to the case. So you just simultaneously will grab a card which represents a clue to the case. The pile of cards will have different colors on the back. And only the cards with the color of the key you're trying to quote-unquote solve are valid for the case. And in addition to the color, the cards also have a point value, giving you an idea of how specific the clue is, and also an icon telling you what part of the case it has to do with. So you're grabbing a card with red on the back in this case, taking it behind your screen, you read the clue, sometimes you consult a book of evidence that you have, and you're crossing out things on your dry erase grid, and then grabbing another card and repeating that until you think you've solved the case. Then everyone else finishes solving the case as well. And as a benefit to the player who did it first, you get to discard one of the cards you used to get to the answer. So if you're the first person to solve it, your benefit is you get to discard one of your cards, because at the end, your score is the point value of all the cards you took on to solve the case. So if you took the juicy clues, you're going to have a higher score, which is worse than, taking more obtuse, less specific clues and getting to the end, assuming you can get to the end with those clues. There's a little bit of a race aspect, but it's more about getting it right and trying to get it right with the least amount of information possible.
And you mean a race as in a very literal, it's all happening in real time race?
Yeah, simultaneous. You're simultaneously taking clues from the center of the table.
How did you look at this box and read the title, The Key, Sabotage in Lucky Llama Land, which I assure you listeners looks weirder on the box than it does to say out loud. And how did you see this picture? You saw this title and you said, That's
exactly what I said.
I'm going to play this game.
Yeah, and I did. Pedigree is great. I mean, Haba makes solid games. Thomas Singh has shown he's a great designer with The Crew. Anyhow.
I will say, Lucky Llama Land looks cool, but they spelled llama wrong.
Did they really?
Yeah, they put only one L instead of two.
Oh. You cracked the case.
I did it.
Wait, did they?
Well, at least on the image that Kellen and I are looking at.
Okay. Interesting.
Or it might be on the German language cover.
Oh, I think that is the German language.
But
That's
everything
weird.
is in English except llama, which is misspelled.
Oh, that's weird. I'm seeing that one now. But my box definitely has it spelled correctly. That's crazy. Huh. Interesting. That's funny.
Maybe it is like some secret clue to something
Maybe.
in the game.
Who knows? I haven't done all the cases.
Was it good?
So, yes, I liked it. I felt like this is a step up from those deduction grid puzzles that you get like in a book of puzzles. And that's primarily because of production. It's like very colorful and vibrant. And the simultaneous selection system is clever and different. It's a clever way to do sort of deduction. That said, the cases, at least the ones I've tried so far, have been a little bit on the easy side. Though, given this is from Haba and aimed, I would believe, at families, you wouldn't want them to be very difficult. And that's not to say they're cakewalks, but I am excited to like play this with my nieces. Though I'm not sure if it would work with like super young kids. I'd say like I don't know. I feel like early teens is probably the earliest you'd go. I wouldn't say like kids under 8 would really want to do this.
There's knives in this game.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that's sort of weird. These are all like criminals you're trying to chase, so like presenting that to kids might be a little funny or a little weird. But
the little kids want to go to Lucky Llama Land,
right?
And once they get there, they're going to be
they
scared.
Find out.
And the older kids are like too cool for Lucky Llama Land, but they actually would be the ones who'd be good at solving the cases,
right?
So it seems like this game has a target audience problem.
That's true. Look, the older kids are too cool for it until they find out there've been like crimes there, and then they're back in.
Older kids love crimes.
Love crimes, yeah, exactly. If one thing teenagers like, it's crimes.
What about in a classroom, Mark? I feel like we often have teachers, like Ricochet Robots works in a classroom. Could you take this to the classroom?
Yeah, as long as like the idea that, I mean, these aren't like, there are no murders happening, to be clear. No llamas have been harmed in making this game. But as long as that's not a big deal, I think, if you've got like 10, 11, 12-year-olds and you want to teach them like the grid, like move away from the grid.
Teach them the grid.
Yeah, evolution from the grid. You want to move on from that. I think this is a great system. It's, again, very fun, very colorful, very tactile. So, yeah, I think if you're a lover of games like that, then the key is certainly solid. Ease of teaching it and the welcoming nature of the design is super fun. So, yeah, I would give The Key a thumbs up. So that was The Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land by Haba and Thomas Singh.
Just to be clear for the teachers, there are murders in Time Barons.
Yeah, there's a lot of murder happening in Time Barons. And like sacrificing your own people to do damage at other sites.
Sacrificing your own people just to get an extra action.
Yeah.
No murders in Hanabi. Lots of fireworks, but no murders.
These are important things. I don't know why this isn't the first thing we say about these games.
That's true. We should have like a teacher rating after every game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Before we move on to the main topic, just a reminder that if you're interested in winning that $50 gift certificate to the online gaming retailer of your choice, go to boardgamebarrage.com/draft and vote on whose draft from the last episode 220, where we drafted games from 501 to 600 on the BGG all-time ranking. You can vote on whose list you like the best, and one random participant will be picked and get a $50 gift certificate to a online board game retailer of their choice.
At the beginning of that, you really sounded like a smooth 1980s radio host, like, and if you're interested in a $50 gift card, all you have to do is give us a call at 858 and we'll get you connected right away with a representative to make sure that you are entered into this contest. And next up, we have...
There's an accent now?
That's not an accent. That's
Wait,
the
what do we have
radio
next
voice.
up? What do we have next up?
It's a brand new song by a brand new, never before, well, not brand new, but it's never before heard song by the Beatles.
Whoa, in 1980s?
And this guy is yeah, that's why it's a surprise, because it's like, it's not new, but it's never before heard.
Right, gotcha.
And so that's why he's excited. He doesn't get excited enough if he's like airing this never before heard.
I was worried that you were going to give me like the crazy, wacky morning DJ sound, but that was closer to like an NPR sort of like Time Life books salesman sort of thing. So I appreciate that. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, no, you had a good voice.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And one more thing. It is that time of year again. Yes, it is time for the Golden Geek Awards. So we are currently in the nomination process. So maybe as a birthday present to me, you could go to boardgamebarrage.com/vote. That is boardgamebarrage.com/vote, where you can nominate us for the Golden Geek. Last year, we finished in the top 3, so we're looking to push up to number 1. So again, boardgamebarrage.com/vote. Go to the Best Podcast Award and find Board Game Barrage there to nominate us for the Golden Geek Award. Okay, but switching gears to our... Oh, these aren't hot questions. What are these?
Party hat questions.
Party hat questions. Christina, give us a party hat.
Oh, I'm starting? I thought
you're doing the sound effect.
Oh, I can't do a Neilan sound effect.
Kellen.
Party hat?
He wants you to go to party.
Go, perfect. Got it.
That's what he
Kellen,
wanted.
don't say a word. Don't say a word.
That was so
No,
loud.
do it.
Our dog alarm just went off.
I don't want to be quoted on that, Kellen. Please do it.
Party.
Oh, Neilan, we need you.
Yes, Neilan.
If you're out there, Neilan,
Come home now.
come home.
Okay, I'll start us off. I'll get us back on track. So
It's a board game podcast.
Yeah, this is a serious
It's the
board game
birthday
podcast.
boy's job.
That's right. And as a birthday boy, my question to you is to dream up your very own expansion to a favorite game of yours that doesn't currently exist and describe what it is, how you would play it, what it adds to your game. So I'm giving you the opportunity to make out of whole cloth just any expansion to any game ever.
Wow. So off the bat, it's harder than I expected coming in with these live questions because my immediate instinct is that I want my games to refine. So it's like I could name like 4, like Battlestar Galactica, Lords of Vegas, Wiz War. Like these are all games that with a 0.5 revision that they reduce their playtime by 30 minutes, I think they would like skyrocket up my list. And so
Sure.
But an expansion very rarely simplifies systems.
What about an expansion that removes something? that could be the thing, right?
That's interesting, yeah.
A paradox. Can you imagine you have to pay extra and it like covers up parts of the board and we're like, actually that part was
I love that. That's great.
I think that my real answer that I have cited before on the podcast, but I'm happy to say again here, I think that the very, very core of Beyond the Sun is spectacular. But I find that the card variety is lacking. And specifically, it's not just the card variety, because I think that the next expansion for Beyond the Sun, I'll bet you will not go far enough. But I basically want Carl Chudyk to design a card expansion for the powers in Beyond the Sun that sort of go wild and wacky. So the design ethos is not tight, balanced Eurogame for Eurogame lovers. The design ethos is we want you to say when every card comes up, wow, that's unfair. Like
Right.
that power is too good.
That sounds fun. Sign me up, and me and Carl sign us up.
Wait, Carl's making it.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, sign him up to make it, sign me up to play it. You know?
Right. Okay.
So that is the biggest expansion that I could imagine. And it sounds like a card deck won't change it much, but like I'm envisioning drastic interactivity being injected into this system. Drastic, Mark.
I got
Why
you.
don't we know Carl?
Why don't we know Carl?
Okay, how about this, Mark? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, how about diplomacy, but the expansion is no lying allowed?
Seems... Sure.
Okay, if you don't like that one, what about bear raid, but with no shorting stocks?
So all these games, but not, basically.
Okay, what about Colorado, but Zularedo? Because that already exists.
Right.
That's the joke. Okay, what about Biblios,
Okay, now I'm on.
But-
Okay.
But
you get to roll the dice.
No, that's blasphemy. That's
No,
blasphemy.
you still get to do everything else, but you also get to roll the dice. It doesn't mean anything. You just get to roll them.
Okay. The edict that is in the book that says absolutely do not roll the dice has been removed. Now it says you can do whatever you want.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
Exactly. That's the expansion. It's just like they give you a little whiteout and then a little piece of paper to put over it.
All right. Okay. This is your revolutionary expansion by removal, by retraction.
Exactly.
Thing.
This is a good idea. This is a Blue Tank exclusive. All the expansions that I want will be removing things. And
nice.
You can quote me on that. Well, I don't know about that. Anyways, okay. So what about a real answer from me?
I mean, if you have to.
Okay, let's think about this. Let's imagine this. What about Quest for El Dorado? Okay, so like an amazing game already. Amazing. You're racing. You're having such a fun little delightful time. But what happens, the expansion is that you get more cards. So everybody loves more cards. But those cards are actually battle cards. So like, let's say you land on a spot at the same time as somebody else. You fight immediately.
You want area control in your...
area control in Quest for El Dorado. That's
all right.
No, maybe not area control, but you know what I mean? There's some fighting. There's some like pushy cards. There's some defense cards. I think it'd be fun.
I get that. I can see that.
It's like you'd have to do a specific type of hexagon shape where it's almost like you could like push someone, like if they lose the battle, they end up on a longer track or whatever to get where they need to go.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somehow push them down the path.
Or you could like steal cards from their deck. Huh?
Yep. You could steal cards. Yeah. These
If
are all
they
great
lose?
ideas. This is good. This is a brainstorm. I like this.
Get the doctor on the phone.
Get the doctor on the phone.
Put down the stethoscope.
That's a good point. If we're not friends with the doctor, then of course we're not friends with Carl. I mean, come on.
We're not friends with anyone.
That's what I'm saying.
But each other.
Yes.
That's right.
At least we have each other. Neilan, come home.
It is interesting that your first episode without Neilan is very kind, and my first episode without Neilan just devolved into calling him Dumb Neilan over and over again.
I'm sure that's funny. I didn't listen to the episode. I'm sorry. So I don't know. I don't get the joke.
That's okay. There's no joke.
I think most of our listeners didn't either. Okay, so for me, the answer is simple. Christina sort of stole my thunder, but obviously the game to go with is Biblios. I mean, it is near perfection, but, more is better. You can add, you can make it even more perfect. So I'm going to go with asymmetric powers for Biblios.
What?
So it's like, it's like Marco Polo. You teach the entire game of Marco Polo, and it's all about rolling the dice, and the dice don't matter, but then one person can just set the dice. So imagine that. Imagine if one person, instead of like, one person could just roll a die, can just roll the green die whenever they want. Like, break the ultimate rule of Biblios. You do not roll the dice. And like the person who has this special monk can roll the dice. Like, you have the St. Augustine monk. All right, you get to roll the dice, And you can have like it wasn't Mendel monk, and he like sort of like learned about Punnett squares and genetics. Like somehow you could work that in. Like you get to combine
this is a good Neilan question.
Yeah, you get to combine two dice into one or something like that. So no, kidding aside, this is probably going to be a boring answer, but I'm such a fan of the like historic games. A lot of these games, like the PAX games, I would just want like more information, more historical references, more cards. Again, those games are just games I love playing slowly and reading the history, reading the background. And then more of that would work.
Sorry,
I love that kind of
all of our expansions are like nobody else would want these.
Yeah.
I want to add fighting to like the most delightful, sweet game. Kellen wants to add interaction, and you want to add history.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, you want an entire expansion of flavor text.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, the flavor text expansion. Yeah, no like functional use for the cards.
It just expounds upon what you saw in the main PAX game.
Yeah, just like a history book, basically.
So like a book.
You just want to add history book. That's the expansion.
There you go.
Oh,
Perfect.
That's good.
Perfect. All right.
Wow.
Next up. So that question was answered, I think,
we
thoroughly.
did a great job.
Yeah, I think
clearly.
we followed the prompt.
Knew we'd be in trouble when we didn't even get through the intro.
We should clarify
quickly.
that any designer or publisher who wants to use our ideas has to pay a fee, a licensing
That's
fee.
true.
Hefty.
Yeah.
All of these are copyrighted already.
That's right. Yeah.
We
right.
did all that. Neilan did it in the back.
That's why he's not here. Yeah, he's at the patent office.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to go to my question now. And while you all are busy expanding games, buying textbooks, adding more cards, well, I'm adding cards too. I am going to pull up my party hat. Psych, I'm not wearing a party hat because that would be bad for the environment. My question is, and this is actually a serious question. I know I'm in a silly mood, but the question is, and this is something that is like kind of weird to talk about, but it's something that I think about a lot. It's like every time I open a new game, every time I'm like punching out components, it's a lot of materials. Like we're talking trees and plastic. So I'm just wondering what you guys think. And I guess this is just kind of an open discussion question about the environmental impact of board games and if there's a way to be better about it.
This is something I've thought about a lot recently. I'm not one to really like dive into Kickstarter too much, but every once in a while I'll check out the games that are coming out. And there's been a lot of discussion about the environmental impact of all the pieces of games, but specifically like the plastic that goes into minis and all that. And I've just been wondering, should you / can you / what will the market reaction be to somebody who releases nowadays a game with a ton of plastic? And I'm sure it's happening because I mean, that's what Kickstarter is. A lot of board games on Kickstarter are about, the number of minis. But it's feeling like it's become sort of almost unacceptable in the market. And maybe you, Kellen, I think you have your finger on the pulse of the Kickstarter world, maybe more than I do, certainly more than I do. Is there a growing distaste for all that plastic in games?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think, like we just saw that they just announced a ultra premium version of Castles of Burgundy that's going to have miniatures in it and made by one of those big, is it Awaken Realms? One of the big miniature companies. Correct, yeah. I have seen people talk before about spot UV coating, which is that coating on the cover of a box that gives it that sheen or that sort of like that offset for the text, and how that's actually literally plastic. And so one way that some publishers have talked about reducing plastic is like by literally not using spot UV finish. And I could be mixing up my terminology a little bit there. I think it's really hard to have this discussion when, even the podcast itself sort of feeds into the beast of buying and playing board games.
But I think that it's similar to discussions we've had in the past about saving money in the hobby, right? Which is like, there are ways to do it. You don't have to be buying everything new. You don't have to be buying the latest hotness. You can have an entire collection, as Mark is living proof of having an entire collection purely through trading, purely through used games, sharing games. And I think there's also something to be said for like, and again, we've talked about this in the saving money context, but you have a game group. Not every single person at your game group needs to have the same game or needs to have the newest game. It's like you kind of talk amongst yourselves and decide who's going to have that. And then you all bring it to game night or whatever. I do think there are ways like individually that you can make things a little better.
I kind of agree. Like, it's not that I don't agree that it's not better, that we can't do better, but it's also like any individual's sort of plight against the world. It's like, they talk about like you doing your personal recycling, and yet corporations are responsible for some like crazy percentile of all recycling, so you shouldn't end up feeling bad about it. But it's like, not to pick on Bear Raid, which Christina already did, but I backed the Kickstarter for that, and it came with the extra, I think they're plastic, like nicer chips, right? For the poker chips for the stock in the companies. But it also came with the cardboard versions because it's like cheaper for them to have one SKU, right? Versus having multiple SKUs where they take stuff in and out of boxes. Like it's too arduous from a timing perspective.
Yeah.
But they don't both fit in the box. So I actually just threw away the cardboard ones because what would I do with them?
Sure.
And they wouldn't fit in the box. But then you're like, well, that's like the exact example of, I think, even why Christina was upset, because she saw it sitting by the stairs to be thrown away. And she's like, what the hell is this? Like, it looks like a final board game.
Yeah, and I think that there are considerations to recycling. Like there are some cities that are way, way better at recycling than others. LA happens to have a really, really good recycling program. So you can go online and like see what's recyclable in your area and what's not. But it's tough. It's not easy, and it's a conflict because it's not something we always talk about or consider. But like sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, the production of this is so beautiful, and we love these beautiful components that are a lot nicer maybe, but it is something I think that is not a bad thing to have in mind.
Yeah.
I think that there's a world where more components could be recyclable, more parts of everything, you know what I mean?
But let me ask you this, and we probably don't have the answer, but maybe we do, right? Wood, plastic, cardboard, like what is the best for the environment?
Yeah,
in terms of like if we wanted to say publishers do better, like reduce plastic and use wood.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that exactly, but my guess, and again, this is not coming with any sort of authority, but my guess is the plastic is going to be the worst of those. But I don't know. It might end up being. I don't know. I'm not certain.
Yeah, I don't actually know the answer. I'm sure there's an easy way to find this answer out online.
Sure.
But there are a lot of materials now that are made from recycled materials. So even those are like already better. Again, yeah, I don't know like all of the answers here, but I think it's just something to consider, to ponder.
Yeah, and I'm not at all vigilant about like I'm not somebody who will turn down any game that has mini in it. But recent discussion about this has made me consider that when it comes to buying a game or what I think about a game. I still will fall for the fun and the extravagance of a mini here and there, but games that are like just like overloaded with them have gone from being something where because I've never been like a minis person, like something where I was like, oh, this is like not really for me, to like now I actively feel like this is a little like wasteful. Like,
do we actually need this?
Yeah, the harm seems to outweigh the benefit. Like, I think used sparingly, at least to me, my gut feeling is it's fine. But when it's just to excess, it feels a little much.
Is this a bad time to say I was considering getting all the great old ones in Cthulhu Wars in the glow-in-the-dark versions that you can get online?
Yes.
I mean, I think this would be a good thing for listeners to talk about in the podcast channel, like how you
give us your
reduce
tips.
Your usage, but also like what would be the ideal state for the industry, because I don't know. And I do think like there's some like shared component ecosystem that could be created where we're buying rule sets as opposed to buying new versions of the same components. Like I mentioned the other day that I have all my poker chips in Lords of Vegas, my game, for whatever reason, and people are like, well, why don't you have that as a communal poker chip set? Where my mindset 10 years ago was that I wanted everything to play the game in the box for that game.
Right.
And so I have multiple poker chip sets, which again speaks to just sort of the consumption of it.
Less things. That's the net.
Now you sound like me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what do you mean, oh, really?
The opposite of you.
That's not the opposite of me?
Okay, Kellen, hit us with your question. Pull open your party hat.
What fell out?
All right, guys. So my question is,
oh my God. Wow. That is actually a great question.
Yeah, honestly, I've never thought about that before. Yeah, wow.
Sorry, everybody, for the unconventional ending there. Callan's question sort of stunned us into silence. I think you'll agree that it was profound. So they're not here now, but I'm going to say we're on all forms of social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email us at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com to discuss these questions about expansions you would add to your game, about what you think about minis and plastic and all that kind of stuff in board games. And of course, to answer Kellen's question, go to boardgamebarrage.com/Discord and go to the podcast channel and let us know what you think. And one final request for you to nominate us for the Golden Geek Awards. Again, that is at boardgamebarrage.com/vote and select Board Game Barrage as a nominee for Best Board Game Podcast. And until next week, we will talk to you later. Goodbye. Charlie does not have a banana, but he could have the other ones. And you
this
like
is the same
you have
thing.
those grids.
Uh-huh.
This is the same thing. The duck
Okay.
can't be by itself when it goes across the river, but if the wolf and the chicken are together. No, we're not.
I need to visualize
We're recording.
this. And just real quick, come on, just do it. The longer you take to do it, the longer we're going to be sitting here waiting for you.
What do you want me to Google?
Good question. Mark, what should we Google? Logic puzzle.
Logic puzzle grid.
Okay, let's see.
What a grid?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that works. Yeah, logic puzzle grid works.
Okay, I'm looking. Oh, yeah, I love these.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, these are so fun.
Yeah, Kellen hates them.
Why don't we know Carl?
Why don't we know Carl? Well, to be fair, we do try to actually stay at arm's length from the designers.
I know.
Okay, there are other, well.
Cut all of this. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the Board Game Barrage Ultimate Expansion. Is
right.
it
streamlining?
Yeah, but what's a better word for the exact opposite of expansion?
A reduction.
Like a contraction.
A trim.
Yeah.
Expand, contract.
A diet.
The Board Game Barrage contraction. Expansion.
Contraction expansion. That's great. Okay, hold on. I gotta come up with something real quick here.
Expand, contract. That's what they say in
Isn't that what they say in childbirth?
Well, that's a different kind of contraction. I'm talking about like imagine you're doing like a dance move. You expand, and then you contract. You know?
Yeah, I've taken many dance classes where I was taught to both expand and to contract.
It's an important concept for yoga and stuff too.
Again, I've done many yoga lessons where I learned how to expand and contract.
Well, I'm sure somebody out there knows what I'm talking about.
Well, no one knows what you're talking about because we're cutting all of this.
What? This is fun.
This is not good.
And it's very important to have the two opposing forces and to balance out the two opposing forces.
Are you contract and I'm expand?
Oh, no. In yourself. Within one person. It's within.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah, it's not a symbiotic
How do two
duo
people work together?
Or triumvirate.
That's a trio.
No, this is a trio. That's what I'm saying. This is a trio.
This whole time we've been talking.
Okay, I'm gonna come up with.
I think it can already have an expansion. It's just what would you, in a perfect world, add to it? You know,
Yeah,
it's almost like
right.
trading. Is there a game that you could add trading that you would like?
Right.
Or
an auction. Add an auction to something that doesn't have one.
I'm gonna add an
What's
option
wrong with that?
to question the scruples.
Say that. Say that.
I don't really get how that's funny, but sure. No, okay. No, I'm gonna go take